Hey, welcome to the Ball Beyond podcast. My name is Aaron Johnson. I'm here with two legends, Lucy Olsen of Villanova and Dallas Wings WNBA star Maddy Siegrist. Lucy, introduce yourself. Tell the world who you are.
Hey, I'm Lucy Olsen. I'm a junior at Villanova. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Play
No,
basketball.
it's great having you. Maddy, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Maddie. I graduated from Villanova in May, and then I got drafted by the Dallas Wings. So now I'm back at Villanova working for the off season.
Why you got the mic, Maddy? We're going to go into you, and then Lucy's going to come back since you were before her. What made you get into basketball?
My dad coached at Marist College when I was like 3, 4, and then he opened his own business, so he didn't coach anymore. But just going to the games at a young age, I was like, this is so cool. But it wasn't until like 8th or 9th grade that I was like, I really want to continue to play basketball at the next level.
When was a time when you were coming up that you knew like you're pretty good at it, and you started kind of separating yourself from everybody else?
In the 8th grade, I made JV as an 8th grader. So I'd like take the bus to the high school, and I thought I was like so cool doing that. And then 9th grade made varsity, and then like started the first game, and I'm like, no other freshmen are starting. Like, maybe I could do this.
Awesome. All right, Lucy, now your turn. We're just gonna go back and forth and kind of like past, present. Like that's kind of our whole idea here is like give the feedback and let you know how she built her career and now how you're building it. So, Lucy, how did you start playing and what got you into the game, and what were some key moments that you knew kind of you started to separate yourself?
Yeah, I feel like I started like 3rd grade is when I really loved basketball. I have an older sister, Olivia. She's 2 years older, so she got into basketball. My dad coached her, and then I was always on the sideline. My mom tells me stories. I don't remember it, but she's like, yeah, you always used to run on the court, like try to shoot, like during halftime and stuff. And I just loved it, so I always just played with her in the driveway. And then as I kept growing, enjoyed it more and more. And then, yeah, same thing, like high school came around. I just wanted to play because it was the next thing. I want to keep playing, so. And then AAU, I just wanted to keep playing, like,
Basketball is fun.
My big thing's basketball is fun, so if
Explain
I can
that.
keep on playing.
Explain it.
Okay, so, man, my interviewing hasn't gotten any better since freshman year.
No, it's great. We're having a conversation. It's not an interview. We're just talking.
Yeah, but after we beat BYU first round of March Madness, we got interviewed. I don't know if you remember this, but
Yeah, I do.
but they were like, yeah, so, I don't even know what question they asked. They were like, yeah, what are you most excited about after beating BYU first round of March Madness? I was like, basketball is fun. I just get to keep playing. Like, it's awesome.
They definitely, the weirdest started was Marquette. We were playing Marquette that year. I think it was your freshman year.
Yeah.
We were like, double overtime, or one game, it's like double overtime. We're in a timeout. Denise is drawing up what to go. We're going over it right before we walk out. And everyone's like, all right, like, pay attention. And Lucy's, like, smiling. And Brooke was, like, looked at her, and Brooke Mullen was like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, this is just so fun. And we were all like, yeah, but, like, that's not what we're doing right now. Like, stop smiling and take the ball out of bounds.
Okay, also, on top of that, I don't even remember that happening, but it was our banquet my freshman year. And Bree Hurley, she was 5th year? She was the grandma of the team.
6th year, I think.
6th year,
Wow.
yeah. She was there for a while.
She's as old as me. It's okay. We won't tell anybody.
Just about, no. But she, like, went up and she's like, she tells that story. I didn't know she was going to say it. I don't even remember it happening. I'm like,
Yeah.
I did that. Like, but I guess it started then, and then, yeah, still here playing basketball because it's fun.
No, it's awesome. So I'm gonna give to understand basically, I played, not as quite as good as you guys. I mean, you're 3rd in the country in scoring. You're the Big East leading scorer ever, right? So we're with two players that have like transcended Villanova basketball. I could say that like without even being disingenuous. But what mentally, in terms of the work that you did, Lucy, answer this first, and then Maddie, like what work did you do to get to where you're at? Like, please tell everyone out there, like the amount of work and suffering, right, that you had to do to get where you're at. Because I don't think anyone understands that piece, right?
Yeah, I don't know who said it, but I don't really find it like work because if you enjoy it, it's not work. But Yeah, I mean, in high school, wake up early before school, go shoot, work out after, stay after. And then got to college, Maddie's always in the gym, always tried to match her minutes.
Yeah.
But I feel like seeing Maddie work that hard and then it actually paid off. Like, I was able to see a living example of it. I've always believed it, but once I saw that, I'm like, okay, if I just work as hard as Maddie, maybe I'll be able to reach that. And, yeah, I mean, hard work always.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think you always gotta like stay after, come early. But for me, it was always like I want to be the best player every time I step on the court. Doesn't matter who you're playing against. Like that's the mentality, and like, the only way to get that confidence and get that ability is to repetition, repetition, repetition. So for me, like in college, like I'm a big routine. So whatever the shooting routine in the season I was doing that year, like that was it every day, no matter what.
Yeah.
Sometimes days you gotta shoot more, sometimes you gotta shoot less, but it just is like I'm all about routine. I think that's when you see the most like, okay, how many shots did you make today? Like, and you can see your growth. So that was something I always liked.
That's great. No, and also one of the things the compliment you guys say is that people don't understand. It's like your actions express what's important to you. Their actions is one of my favorite quotes is like actions express priorities, right? Because there's nothing you can say that shows more than your behavior or action. Like you could say you're getting shots up, but if you're really getting shots up and you're really getting makes, the ball's going to go through the basket. Like you're not, and that's what for all the young boys and girls watching or in the future that see this is that it's the work you put in when no one's watching, not the work that you put in when you're in a workout video. And I've been a part of it too. I'm not going to act like as a been the skill development business I've been in and I'm in. Is we all have these videos, right? Like you wear the pink shoes and the cool shirt, and you have whatever rap album's good, and like you make a shot, and then all of a sudden your lava's coming out of your hands. You know what I mean? Like, it happens, but it's like that's a facade of even though as good as it looks, it's what you've actually done to get to that point. So what I want to ask now is what made you go to Villanova? What made you make your college decision? Because obviously it's an amazing school and really a great opportunity to get a great education and play basketball. But what separated it from the other schools when you were choosing? Maddie first, and then obviously Lucy.
Well, Villanova was like always a school that I like loved. The best player from my high school went there in like the early 2000s, Jenna Vianney.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like the best player I ever knew.
Yeah.
So like now she's a mom with like 4 kids, and I just was like, oh well, okay, Villanova, and they were my last offer senior year.
Mm-hmm.
September my senior year, I waited all summer for them to offer, and then I came on campus and loved it.
Yeah.
And my official visit was great. And Harry Pareto was the coach at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, hey, like, I'm not gonna tell you what you want to hear. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're probably not gonna play a lot early, and like. That was all I needed to hear. And I was like, okay, like, all right, no problem. And I committed the next day, and I remember him on the phone and was like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. And then I'm like, wait.
Fast forward.
I thought you offered me. And he's like, no, I just want to make sure you're sure. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. And
that's great.
It was important. Like, I wanted to go to, like, the Big East I always loved growing up watching. I mean, the old Big East was sick.
Yep.
And then just a Catholic school was important to me too. So just having both those two pieces were huge.
That's great.
Yeah, let's see. I live around Villanova, so I wanted to stay close to home. That was a big thing. I went to some camps, Villanova camps growing up, always knew about it. And then I really liked Denise Dillon, but she was at Drexel when I was like in my recruiting process. So I was kind of in between because I liked Villanova a lot, but I heard rumors that Harry was retiring, so I didn't want to commit without knowing who the coach was. And then COVID came around, so it kind of like stopped my recruiting process. And then during quarantine, found out Denise was moving to Villanova, and I was like, oh, look at that, perfect, everything worked out.
Yep.
And then I committed. Yeah, I just love it. Like Maddie said, when I stepped on campus, like everyone, the nicest people around. The community's like wonderful. It feels like home.
It's interesting, and I hate to talk about myself here, but I have some synergies with both of you because not really highly recruited, and towards the end went to Penn State. You guys now are going to be 2 of the best players to ever go to Villanova. I led the Big Ten League as an invited walk-on, right? So like it just shows you. I think there's a reason why stuff like that happens, and the chip on your shoulder, when you get that, it never goes away. Like, and I think a lot of kids now, it's like there's no chip. That's why it's so hard to be great, because there's no chip. It's like they're just giving. It's not their fault. Like, it just was social media, all these different variables that go into college basketball and outside of basketball. It's hard to focus on one of those things. So let's go into the elephant in the room we got to talk about, is the NIL. Obviously, we're all in the space in one way or another. Talk about how you think the NIL has changed college sports.
Yeah, I mean, I've only known NIL because when I got here as a freshman, like that was the first year. But I think in general, it does. It takes people's minds. Like, you can see the people that really love basketball kind of got, the other people that kind of got distracted. But yeah, I think it definitely changed a lot. Personally, I'm just going with the flow. Like, whatever happens, I'm like, hopefully, if I work hard in basketball, then the NIL deals will come. So yeah, just trying to go with that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for the first 2 years, we didn't have it. So it was like you couldn't even train a kid. You couldn't even have a camp.
Yeah.
So I think from that aspect, it's great. Like, when the school's selling your jersey, you're going to get a piece of that, which I think is important. Schools have been doing that for a long time. And, like, you working a summer camp at Villanova, like, well, you should be able to have your own, like, camp or clinic. So from that aspect, I think it's great to be able to, make money off of, your ability. But, I think it's hard for college athletes now, with social media, how much it's growing and important. And with the NIL, like, you got to think about it a lot more than just basketball. So I think that if you have your priorities, you could do both. But I think it's definitely a balance, and you have to, like, work on that balance.
I also think, to complement both of what you said, I think it's also about getting to a place where you're authentic. I think, like, with social media being so heavy, I think the people that are more authentic, and again, there's anomalies, right? Like, there's viral videos that turn a $50,000 account to a $2 million account. But I think when you're authentic about what you're doing, like, it resonates with people. And then if you're really good at what you do, it's a perfect storm. So it's, in the experience I've seen, it's the more you're authentic and the less you're worried about the money coming in, the more money actually will come in, because you're not doing it for the money, you're doing it just because it's you, right? And I think that's something that I think the NIL can help, and it's also something that people have to work on, because if you're making a lot of money, the drive to get the gym is not going to be there as much. You know what I mean? For some it is. For some it's, that's just how they're wired. For some it's not. And then the next piece I want to talk about going into the NIL, which kind of gets us into, like, the mentality part of the game. We talked about it a little bit, but talk how important it is, to be able to have a next play mentality, as an athlete, as a professional now,
Yeah, I think, pro, college, high school, you have to have that next play mentality. I mean, you're going to be put in so many different positions, and I found, last year is the best example I could have used, is like every single game you just go in, you're like, I've handled everything that could happen. I've been through it. I've started 0 for 6, I've started 6 for 6, started 2 for 6. Like, every situation you've been in, you've been down 20 and won, up 20 and lost. So it's just knowing that, and, like, going off your own experience has helped me so much, especially, like, games you're struggling. Like, as a especially, like, basketball, when you're asked to score a lot, it's hard. Like, you want to see the ball go through the basket, and some days everything goes in, and some days you have to just, grind it out. Yeah. So I think just having that mentality helped me a lot, and just knowing, like, you don't have to get it all in one play. And, like, you might, like, there's games, like, you don't score a basket until the second half, and it's like you still end up doing great. Yeah. So just kind of going with that, and, like, one play at a time, like, I think has really helped me.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, I think the same thing. There are so many ups and downs and struggles that you're going to face. Like, no game is perfect, so you have to have a next play mentality. Denise, one of her big things is up 6, down 6. You got to stay the same all the time, like, whether you're up 6 points, down 6. I think personally for me, whenever I start, like, getting in my head a little bit, Denise is always like, find your joy. Like, go back. You've worked hard for this. Like, find your confidence again. You've put the time in the gym. Find your joy, and then I'm like, oh, it's just basketball. Like,
It's fun.
it's fun. Get back to it.
I never gotta find your joy. I gotta, come on, let's go.
Yo, figure it out.
It's fun.
I get to find your joy. Yeah.
No, that's great. So now I want to ask a couple different questions, kind of random, but I think it's kind of interesting. So you have the mic. I'll ask you first. So Lucy, who was your biggest person that you looked up to in the game of basketball, or outside of basketball, till now this day?
I think my dad has always been there. He makes me the angriest, of course, but it pushes me to be better. So I think my dad, but player like I looked up to like kind of resemble my game, I guess, a little bit would be like a Chris Paul a little bit.
That. That's awesome.
Yeah, I like how he's undersized but crafty, finds his spots on the floor, has a great mind. I feel like he's not the most athletic guy, so even if I'm not the most athletic on the floor, like I can still learn from him and figure out how to play.
Definitely my parents.
Yeah.
I think my dad might have missed one game in my college career.
That's amazing.
Providence when I was a freshman.
You remember
I
it,
do.
exactly.
So that was a 0 for 6.
Yeah.
That was one of those games. And my mom, I mean, she's just been so supportive in everything, whether it was like ballet, gymnastics, basketball, soccer. But what player? Probably Brianna Stewart. She was like
Oh my God,
the
yeah.
player when
Yeah.
I mean, she still is the player.
Yeah.
And now playing against her is
Yeah.
crazy when I was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, like this is
Yeah.
so cool. But I love the way she played. And like, she's a little bit taller than I am, but like lanky, can play like guard and forward. And like, that's what I was like, I want to be like that. 'Cause I felt like she was very coordinated for being as long as she was, and it is.
That's good. All right, so here, we're going to the next question. So the next one
Wait,
is,
can I add something?
your floor is yours.
Shout out my mom. She's going to be mad if she watches
Please,
this.
no,
She
do
was
it.
part of it, too.
Do it.
Don't forget.
So while you have the next question, and Lucy will answer after you, is name a sport or something you would do if you weren't playing basketball.
Pickleball. I mean, I think
I love that. That's cool.
I've been taking it up a little bit, but
Yeah.
that's something I think I could be like an avid pickleball person when I'm older.
Lucy?
I would definitely be going pro in spike ball.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Love spike ball. 10 out of 10. Just joined the club this year. Multi-sport athlete.
I love it. So all right, so next one is kind of goofy, but I get things, and I'm inspired, as a lot of great athletes are, by different things. So what's your favorite superhero?
Ooh, superhero.
Yeah,
I really love Spider-Man.
that's a good one. Let's go.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Weird questions here.
No,
I guess.
Superman. Don't
Yeah.
tug on Superman's cape.
Well, to compliment that is like they asked Kobe, like, what song did you play before every game, and he played the Michael Myers theme, because it turned him into a psychopath. And you read stuff about him. It's not, obviously he's not a psychopath in life, but to get to a mind where you're a killer and you don't, like, if you think about the meaning of what he was doing, it's to be a blindless killer, like a non-movement face. Jordan was the same way. Like, you could not rattle them, and they just stay the same, and they want to rip your heart out.
What do you listen to before the game?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Oh, good question, Matt. I honestly am not a huge music person. So
This basketball is fun. You don't need it.
yeah, I just go out there, my adrenaline, my joy. No, I actually don't have any like crazy hype song, but I did see that about Kobe.
What's your favorite song?
Classical music.
That's interesting. What specifically?
This calms me down.
Beethoven?
No, like Broadway, like classical music.
That's interesting.
A sports psychologist told me once that
Yeah.
like it was like, oh, like if you ever get like, because I would just want the game to start.
Yep.
Let's just go. Like wake up 8 a.m. for 7 p.m. game. Like, all right, let's just go. And I found that's very calming. Like on the way to shoot around, on the walk over to the gym, and then like whatever people play in the locker room doesn't. I'm like, all right, great. But I like to always just like take it a little bit, calm down.
No one probably cares, but when I was playing.
No, we can.
But when I was playing, one of the things I did that was really unique is my dad told me, he's like, treat every game like you're going to the park. So what I did is everyone has a way they do before the game. So people would have a salad or have a specific food or get a certain amount of sleep. Me, I just pretended it was nothing. Like I pretended it wasn't even a game. I pretended it was completely just like a regular day. And I was almost annoyed by how much downtime, because I think we all know you're in the hotel and it's like, are we ever going to play? Then you get to shoot around. It's like, okay, we still have 2 hours before we're going to play. Then we go in the locker room and we hear the coaches speak. Then we go back for shoot around. Then we come back. So I was like, and you can tell I've had ADHD my entire life. So that was one of the things that I really focused on, is treat it like you said, like it's fun, and it's not just, oh my goodness, like we have to do every single, because most of the time when you do all those things, it gets in your mind so much, it takes away from the actual fun of it. You're almost like a robot when you go into it. So that's a question I like to ask, because I always like to hear like what athletes do before the game, where they see it, how they build it. We're almost done, I promise. The next question I want to know is like, from your experience, what was the hardest moment? What was your outlier moment in your career, where it could have gone either way, or where you started to see yourself just kind of separate from everyone?
You want to go first?
Whoever's got the mic.
I think for me it was the second practice of my freshman year, and I broke my ankle. I needed to get 3 screws in it, and I was going to have to redshirt that year. And I was like, at that point, I didn't know if Villanova was too high of a school for me. I'm like, I don't even. And now I have to wait a whole year until it was going to come back. And that, like, looking back now, I was like, wow, like, what was, like, thank goodness. And I had great, like, people around me. And, like, our coach at the time, Harry, was, like, great. And, like, every day would talk to me, like, during practice, like, what are we looking for in the offense? Like the mental part of the game that, like, in high school, you didn't even have to think about it. You were so much better than everyone else. You're like, all right, like, and then at college, I'm like, and now looking back, like having that year and like taking that to learn the game helped me, and that'll help me forever, whatever I want to do with basketball. So looking back now, that definitely that.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, I would say my hardest. I've had a great time here so far, so I feel like, knock on wood, I don't get any injuries like that, but I would say our first like exhibition game my freshman year was the hardest, because it was my first time I was playing with people like same level basketball skill. Like they love it just as much, they work just as hard, and I was very confused on my role.
Sure.
I felt like I've never played basketball before.
Yeah.
Because I had Maddie here. I'm like, oh my God, just get her the ball. Like I didn't know what to do. After that, during that game, I had like 10 turnovers. I hate turning the ball over, so that was just. After the game, I was a mess. I didn't know what to do. I like went to Denise. I was like crying. I'm like, I promise this won't be like every game. Like, don't think I'm like soft. Like, but yeah, she helped me out, figured out my role. But
that's awesome. What's your, I guess I want, you don't have to remember a quote, but like, what's your favorite saying? Like I told you, kind of one of my quotes, that I love, and I'm gonna share another one with you when you say it. But what's something that stuck with you, like whether it's a quote or it's something that someone said that you stuck, that kind of drives you, or that you think about when you're playing or not playing?
I think just be a dog.
Yep.
Like all the time. If you're a dog, no one can stop you.
I love that. What about you?
Mine's a little different than that.
Be a dog.
Mine's probably like give it to God. When like challenge,
that's awesome.
When challenges come, like you got to give it to God, and when like the accolades come, the great things come, like give it to God, because it's not yours.
Yeah, I'll speak on that too, because I just love psychology things. Mine is like the magic that you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. It's like the number. Like I just think it means, because if you think about it, everything that you really want is on the other side of hard, right? Like of whether it be
choose your hard.
Choose like your suffering, and then once you get through it, like just the way the body works, like to build muscle, you break it. To get to the next level of anything, you have to like do something that you just don't want to do. Like even in a relationship, like when you're in a relationship with someone, it's like, it's hard. Like you have to figure out how to like keep growing from it. So like those are the things I tell, all these, whether it be former players, people I'm dealing with, clients or athletes I'm mentoring or working with. It's like, you have to be okay to just fail a little bit. Like failing is really good if you think about it. Like every time you fail, you get stronger. Every time you do great, you kind of get softer. So it's like it's a fine balance of like failing, getting up and growing, or it's getting really good. And if you think about it, the majority, I think, and we're going to get into other things, and this is the last thing I get into. You think about the world. This is outside of basketball, but everything that we see, like the more money people have, the harder they find to live. Right? It's weird. It's like if you look at it, like the more you have, the harder it is to live because you have everything and you lose purpose. And then the people that don't have as much, who are grinding all the time, they don't think about what they have because they're trying to get to have it all, right? So it's like this really, really, psychological thing we're dealing with. So last thing I'll talk about, let you guys go, is what do you want to do when you're done playing? Because I know for me as a former player, my whole goal is that every person I deal with that's done playing has something. Because when you are wired to do something that you love, like basketball is essentially our baby, right? It's everything. It's like, it's given us a life. It's gotten us through all these things. But when you give it up, that's the hardest thing. So my question is to you, what do you want to do when the ball stops bouncing?
So that's kind of like this year, like when I'm looking, like,
That's awesome.
being around Villanova, kind of seeing the administrative side of sports, the broadcasting side of sports, the coaching side of sports.
Yeah.
I do think I want to be a coach one day. I want to play basketball for a lot longer.
I see that.
But I definitely think coaching is something, that'll be in my future.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Got a lot of time. You're good.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling myself. But
I didn't know until I was in my pretty much mid-30s. So speaking as a former player that didn't make $30 million but made good money, that's the hardest thing to challenge. And I want to speak on, it's so important to me because, like, whether you're a male athlete, woman athlete, whatever you're doing, like, to give up what you've done every single day and then have to, like, go into the world, it's like you're brand new. So especially if you go into business, because it's almost like someone in business coming to guard you, and you have to, and they have to try to figure out how to beat you. That's what we're doing in the business world, because we're in their world now, and there's a certain level of I want to help you, but not too much, because you're already getting all this fame and attention. We couldn't get that, so there's a certain level of, like, you have to totally humble yourself and relearn. So that's what I wanted to say there. So, hey, thank you guys so much for coming on this. It was fun. I wanted to keep it short and simple, and appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks for having
So that was
us.
it.